May 10, 1945, near Regensburg, Germany. The war in Europe was over, but the tension had not disappeared. American trucks rolled through the ruins of southern Germany while columns of surrendered. Wehrmacht soldiers marched toward temporary prisoner camps. Smoke still drifted above shattered buildings, and burned-out tanks lined the roads leading to General George S. Patton's Third Army headquarters. That morning, Patton arrived at a former German military academy, now being used to process captured officers. Inside the courtyard, dozens of Wehrmacht officers stood in formation. Their weapons had been surrendered, but their discipline remained. Many still wore Iron Cross medals on faded field gray uniforms. As an American color guard raised the stars and stripes above the headquarters, every U.S. soldier snapped to attention. Then something unexpected happened. Several German officers ignored the American flag. Instead, they turned toward one another, raised their right arms, and quietly said, "Heil Hitler." The courtyard fell silent. American military police instinctively gripped their M1 Garand rifles, waiting for Patton's reaction. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten them. Instead, he calmly walked forward until he stood only a few feet away. "The war is over," Patton said. One German colonel met his eyes. "Our loyalty is not." Patton stared at him for several seconds before turning to an American captain. "Separate every officer who gave that salute." Within minutes, the officers were escorted away under heavy guard. Most people expected punishment. Instead, Patton issued a different order. "I want every file on these men," he said. "Every assignment, every report, every battlefield they served on. If they're still loyal to Hitler after Germany has surrendered, I intend to find out why." By nightfall, intelligence officers were surrounded by stacks of captured German records. No one realized that a single salute had just begun an investigation. That would expose far more than anyone expected. Within minutes, the headquarters was buzzing with activity. Captured German records were stacked across long wooden tables as translators. Intelligence officers and military police searched through personnel files. Every document connected to the separated officers was brought directly to Patton. He wasn't interested in the salute alone. He wanted to know the men behind it. An intelligence major opened the first file. "Sir, Colonel Friedrich Keller, 22 years in the Wehrmacht. Served in France, Russia, and the Ardennes." Patton skimmed the report before setting it aside. Next, another file revealed a different officer had commanded troops during the retreat through Belgium. A third had supervised security operations in occupied France. Some records showed ordinary battlefield service. Others raised troubling questions. One intelligence captain quietly spoke. "General, several of these officers appear in reports alongside SS units." Patton looked up. "Evidence?" "Not enough yet, sir." "Then find it. I want facts, not assumptions." Throughout the afternoon, the officers were questioned individually. Most claimed they had saluted out of habit. One remained defiant. "I swore an oath to Adolf Hitler," he declared. "I will not break it." The translator repeated every word. Patton stepped closer. "A professional soldier serves his country. He doesn't surrender his judgment." The room fell silent. As darkness settled over the headquarters, more documents arrived from nearby American units. Late that evening, an intelligence officer rushed into Patton's office carrying a newly discovered folder. "General, I think we found something." Inside were signed operational orders connected to one of the officers who had refused to acknowledge the American flag. Patton studied the papers carefully. If they were authentic? The investigation was about to become far more serious than anyone had imagined. May 11, 1945. Third Army Headquarters, Germany. The newly recovered documents were spread across Patton's desk. They included field reports, captured radio messages, and signed orders from several of the officers, who had refused to acknowledge the American flag. An intelligence officer pointed to one report. "General, we've confirmed these men weren't all the same. Some served honorably as professional soldiers, but others willingly supported Nazi policies long after the war was clearly lost." Patton slowly closed the folder. "Then we don't judge them as one group." He immediately issued his orders. "The officers with clean military records will remain regular prisoners of war. The others, they'll be transferred for further investigation." Military police quickly separated the prisoners once again. Some looked relieved, others remained silent. One colonel finally spoke. "You Americans are treating us differently." Patton faced him. "No, we're treating each man according to his own actions." The word spread quickly through the prisoner camp. For many American soldiers, it was an important lesson. Patton wasn't seeking revenge. He wanted justice. That afternoon, the remaining German officers were assembled in the courtyard once more. The American flag waved above the headquarters. This time, no one raised a Nazi salute. Instead, the prisoners stood quietly as the stars and stripes climbed the flagpole. Patton looked across the formation. "You've been defeated. That cannot be changed. But how you're remembered depends on what you choose to do now." No one answered. The silence said enough. As Patton prepared to leave, a radio operator ran toward him carrying an urgent message. "General, a large German unit north of here still refuses to surrender. Their commanders claim they haven't received official orders." Patton unfolded the map and smiled slightly. "Then we'll deliver the orders ourselves." Within hours, Third Army vehicles were already moving toward the final pocket of resistance. The last chapter of the story was about to begin. May 12, 1945, near Regensburg, Germany. American armored columns reached the isolated German position shortly after sunrise. White flags already fluttered above several trenches, but many soldiers still stood with rifles in hand, uncertain whether the war had truly ended. Patton ordered the captured Wehrmacht officers with verified military records to step forward. One by one, they walked toward their former comrades. A German colonel removed his cap and spoke firmly. "The war is over. Berlin has fallen. Further resistance will only cost more German lives." The words spread through the defensive line. Within minutes, rifles were lowered. Machine guns fell silent. One after another, German soldiers walked forward and surrendered without a shot being fired. An American captain looked at Patton. "Sir, we could have attacked." Patton shook his head. "Victory isn't measured by how many enemies you destroy. It's measured by how many lives you save once the fighting is over." Later that afternoon, Patton returned to the prisoner compound. The same officers who had once saluted. Hitler now stood quietly beneath the American flag. There was no protest, no defiance, only silence. Patton addressed them one final time. "You served your country, but never forget this. No oath is greater than a man's responsibility to what is right." The officers remained motionless. Some lowered their heads. Others stared at the ground, knowing the war and the regime they had followed was gone forever. As Patton walked back toward his jeep, an aide asked, "General, was this your revenge?" Patton paused. "No, my job wasn't revenge. It was victory. And victory means ending the killing, not continuing it." The jeep pulled away as the stars and stripes waved above the former German headquarters. For the American soldiers who witnessed the moment, the lesson stayed with them long after the war. History remembers General George S. Patton for his speed, aggression, and relentless drive across Europe. But stories like this reveal another side of his leadership. He believed that even after victory, discipline mattered more than hatred, and that true military honor was earned through actions, not blind loyalty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments which World War II story you'd like to see next.